development of Western Civ program fits into that, all of that sort of thing.
Okay, I'm only doing 10 minutes, so I don't know how in depth I will be able to go, but I'll do what I can. First of all, hello, my name is Dr. Alex Moffett, and I'm the director of the Development of Western Civilization program here at Providence College, and I have a small presentation I'd like to share with you. So let me go ahead and get that started. Ooh, I have to turn on the slideshow here. Slideshow from beginning. Perfect. All right, here it is. And what you're looking at right now is on a sunny day, completely unlike the one we're having in Providence right now, is a image of the Ruane Center for the Humanities. And this is where our program is based. It's where you students who are looking on will have many of your classes, not just in DWC, but perhaps in other disciplines as well. English and history are based there, and we have a lot of classroom space there. So let me talk a little bit about the Development of Western Civilization program here, what it is and what we're trying to achieve in that program. First of all, let me describe it to you. It is a course in cultural and intellectual history, focusing primarily, although not exclusively, on the Western tradition. It's a course about ideas. And although Western is built into the title, we will also bring in text from other traditions. We will also have colloquia that are on non-Western topics. So we really try to make this an expansive and comprehensive course as we possibly can. It's required of all students at Providence College, 16 credits. So that means you take four credit classes in your first year. You do 2 in your first year and 2 in your second year, so that by the time you finish in your sophomore year, you are done with Civ, and then you're probably moving and concentrating on a major. That's 16 credits. If you take the liberal arts honors version of the course, it is 20 credits for 5-credit course. 3 of those courses are in a historical sequence, 101, 102, and 201. And what that means is we start back in the Middle East. For instance, we might start by reading the Epic of Gilgamesh. We might start in ancient Egypt. We might start in ancient Greece. We would read Genesis and Exodus, for instance, at the beginning in your first year. And then the DWC 101 continues to be a course about the classical era, concentrating on Greece and Rome and the Middle East and North Africa and places like that. DWC 102 is a course on the medieval and then into the early modern period. And finally, we have DWC 201, which starts at around the French Revolution or the American Revolution and continues on until the present day. And that, in fact, is the course that I teach. So those are the 3 courses in a historical sequence. So midway through your sophomore year, you'll be finished with those 3. And then you'll sign up for a themed colloquium. And students are doing this right now, even as we speak at Providence College. They're beginning to look at the colloquia and pre-register. And what we do is we take maybe a topic that came up in a Civ class or a topic that is an offshoot of the Civ class, and 2 professors will go into more detail in that themed colloquium. Let me give you some examples of what some of those colloquia are. For instance, we have, and these are all being offered this coming spring, we have racism and theologies of liberation. We have a course on nature writing and creative writing. One of the professors of that course is a published novelist. We have a course called DWC Through Food. So it's looking at the cultural history of food throughout the world, really. And in this coming semester, I think the professors are going to be remote. They're going to be doing some broadcasts from their own kitchens, where they'll be doing some cooking demonstrations and talking a little bit about the cultural history and significance of the food that they're making. We have a course on the history of sports, very, very popular course. And we also have a course called Apocalypse. Capital letters are not a typo. That's the way they title it. And in this course, the 2 professors would, both of whom are friends of mine, they will teach, like for instance, they might teach the book of Revelations and then follow it up with something like a contemporary zombie movie. And they were actually teaching this course last spring when, of course, the COVID outbreak began and we all went home after that. And all of a sudden, this became one of the most relevant courses on campus for the students who were in it, because they felt, here's a course that's about the kind of circumstances that were going on. It feels a little bit like the end of the world. Hopefully it has. Hopefully we'll be getting through this over the next year. We'll see. But these are the kinds of things that we do in the colloquia. We try to make colloquia that are relevant for students and that are interesting and engaging. thing that makes Civ quite different, I think, from other courses is team taught. 3 professors from English, history, philosophy, or theology group up, sometimes from other disciplines. We have art historians, political scientists, that sort of thing. And they teach the course. So I collaborate on my DWT 201 course, for instance, with a historian and a theologian. And we get together and we plan the readings and we work together in class. So it's not quite an English or history class, rather it's a Civ class, and it's a compilation and a collaboration between the 3 of us. And all the courses are that way. It's a 4-credit class. Of those 4 credits, 2 hours are spent in the lecture hall. So for instance, you would have 2 50-minute lectures per week. Ours, for my own particular class, ours are on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So students would come to the lecture hall for 50 minutes on Tuesday, 50 minutes on Thursday. And then for the other 2 hours, they are in a student-centered seminar. Usually we try to cap it at 16 students, fewer if we can. And those student-centered seminars are those are the times when students are expected and encouraged to take control of the text. They're the ones that are going to be having the primary voice in the seminar class. The professor ideally will be taking a back seat as students will discuss the readings. So the way a typical week might work is you might attend a couple of hours of lecture where a professor is talking about a certain text. She's telling students how best to read it or what kinds of things to look out for, giving them some historical context. And then when you get to the seminar, you're in a position where you've done the reading, you've listened to the lecture, and now as a student, you've got the ability to talk about this text and do so in an intelligent, informed way and really guide the class discussion. That ideally is how this should be working. I've got a few images of just the facilities that we have to teach these classes. During our COVID semesters, we're not congregating in large lecture halls. Our lectures are entirely on Zoom. But when we do, which hopefully we will be doing in fall 2021, fingers crossed, we'll be doing so in a hall like this. This is one of our Ruane lecture halls. And as you can see, it's equipped with whiteboards and chalkboards. It's equipped with technology. So, although they're lectures, they're also often very collaborative and interactive. Professors will show video. They will have PowerPoints or Prezi presentations. They might ask questions of the students. So this is where those lectures take place. And here's an image of one of our seminar rooms. We're not using these particular rooms in COVID because the chairs are quite close together, as you can see. But we are using larger rooms this semester, but we are gathering in person, and the spirit is very much still the same. Notice how it's a round table, and the premise being, of course, with the round table, no one's at the head of the table. The professor isn't dominating the class. Ideally, it's a to and fro between students, and the fewer times that I talk during my seminars, the more successful that they are, in my opinion. Also, we have this hall in Ruane. It's the Ruane Fiandella Great Room. This is often used for events. It's also used, as you can see here in this image, by students who are using it as a quiet study space. And it's a very wonderful space. It's a very atmospheric space, and particularly around wintertime. They put a fire on. There's a Christmas tree in the corner. Sometimes students call this the Hogwarts room because it reminds them of having watched Harry Potter. And there's very much that kind of feel in the room at times. It's a very pleasant space. And so a student might come here, they might do some work before class, and then go straight to their lecture halls, which are pretty much right next door. I want to conclude my presentation with an excerpt from an essay. It was actually the last essay written by the great civil rights leader, Congressman John Lewis, who of course passed away this summer. And the week he died, he had an essay published in the New York Times. You might have read that essay, but I want to excerpt part of that because I think it really talks to why we teach this class. Here's what Congressman Lewis wrote. You must also study and learn the lessons of history because humanity has been involved in this soul-wrenching, existential struggle for a very long time. People on every continent have stood in your shoes through decades and centuries before you. The truth does not change, and that is why the answers worked out long ago can help you find solutions to the challenges of our time. To me, that is why we teach this class. The idea that we can look at the past and say something about the present and learn something about the present through having done so. For instance, in my class this semester, I teach the third semester in the sequence, the 201 class about the modern world. We had a class on the French Revolution, and students used that seminar and their seminar time to also talk about social protests that took place in 2020 and making connections between the two. That's exactly the kind of work we like to encourage in our DWC class. We look to the past to say something about the present so that you students can then help shape our future. And so that's why we do this. And hopefully this grounding in the liberal arts tradition that we provide in this class will now help you in your own classes. It'll help you in terms of skills required, certainly. Writing, reading, that's going to benefit your grade later on. But it will also help you in terms of situating yourself and situating the debates that you hear on the television or on the internet right now, and situating with regard to history and how those debates have taken shape, and tells you something about the world you live in. Okay, let me conclude by giving you my email address. Happy to answer questions about the program. I'd be happy to answer any right now if there are any in the chat space, or if you have any questions to bring up. Anyway, email me at amoffat@providence.edu. I'd be delighted to talk to you further about the program. Always happy to talk to new possible students. Always happy to talk to parents too. If you're parents looking over the shoulder of students watching this presentation, I would be always delighted to chat about what it is that we do. I'm going to pass back to Liz now. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Moffat. I love hearing always about the development of Western Civ program and how it just continues to grow and become that much more in depth over the years. As a proud PC alumna, I've gone through the program and would very happily take it again. My colloquium was with Dr. Sandra Keating and Dr. Mike O'Neill, and there are so many others that have come up over the years that I'd love to take too. I don't see any questions in the chat right this moment, but do you mind sharing, I know it's not happening this coming spring, but a little bit about Civ in London?
Of course, Liz. Yeah, we're piloting a program that's a study abroad program where students will spend the second semester of their sophomore year in London and take a DWC colloquium. They've been taking a DWC 202 colloquium that year, in that semester anyway, but they take it in London. And so the colloquium that's being taught there is using site. It's using London as and London resources for the class. And the one that we're piloting is on battlefields and home fronts. And students will be doing things like they'll be traveling to Normandy, they'll be traveling to Belfast. And of course, they'll also be taking courses at institutions in London as well. So it's a chance to have a study abroad experience a little earlier than most students do in their second semester of their sophomore year, and to do so while still, completing your civ obligations, and also having your civ obligations be that much more wonderful because you're going to museums, you're going to sites. And as you said, Liz, we had to postpone it for this coming spring semester, of course, with the current conditions. We're really optimistic, fingers crossed, that we're going to have it running for spring 2022.
And as I've said every single time we've done this together, if you need an admission chaperone for whatever reason, I will always be available. Well, thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. Oh, we do have one question that just came through. Will the semester in London be open to all sophomore students?
Yes, there's an application process, but it will be open to all sophomore students who are doing the regular sequence of the class, and that's 90% of the sophomore student body. There's an application process. You basically apply in your freshman year, and then prepare for sophomore year. So yeah, so it's open to everyone.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. Alex, Dr. Moffat is doing double duty for us this afternoon, so I will let you jump off to the next Zoom session. If there are questions, I will happily direct our students towards you. But as we transition now, Dr. Levine, I'm going to promote you to a panelist so that we can move over towards that more major specific side of the equation. So all of our students on campus do go through that liberal arts core curriculum aspect, but then what does it actually mean to study within your specific field? So we have one of our wonderful faculty members here to share more about specifically the Health Policy and Management program, and then we will touch upon a few of the other professional studies programs as the afternoon continues. But Dr. Levine, if you would like to come on and give us more of that in-depth look onto what it means to be an HPM student. I did say I'm a proud alumna. One of my college roommates studied HPM, absolutely loved the program. So happy to hear about it a little bit more.
Hi, yes, thanks so much for having me and for inviting me to come to this. This is my first experience doing a panel quite like this, although I'm used to running these kinds of events, of course, in person and in other ways. My name is Deborah Levine. I am Associate Professor of Health Policy and Management. I'm also the Department Chair of Health Policy and Management. Health Policy and Management lives in the School of Professional Studies. The School of Professional Studies is social work, education, and health policy and management programs. And the thing that unites us together is our real world experience. We combine academic expertise with field experience throughout the education. So I'm happy. I've been teaching at Providence College since 2009. I'll give you a brief overview of the major, but my guess is those of you who've signed up to take a look at it may have read some of that material already. But we have 10 courses in our HPM major. 7 of those are a set part of our curriculum, including Intro to the U.S. Healthcare System, which I teach, including health finance, health law, and a number of other interdisciplinary pre-professional courses designed to give students an introduction to the full healthcare sort of sector, industry, and so forth. And then they take 3 HPM electives. Most of our students take 4 or more because they like us and they want to take more in our major. And those electives they can choose. So we often have students who are interested in pursuing clinical careers, and maybe they're pairing us with a bio major or other science courses. And those students might take more clinically focused electives. We have students that are interested in the business side of healthcare, and we have a regular roster of instructors who come in. We have, right this semester, we have one who's working at CVS, who's an executive, one who's at Blue Cross Blue Shield, and a number of others who teach some of our management-based electives. And then we have a number of students, especially this year and last year, as you can imagine, who are interested in learning more about public health and managing our healthcare system through crisis. And we have a number of classes that address that as well. All students take HPM 450, which is a required internship course where we place you with a preceptor and you have a supervised 120-hour internship. Many of our students actually get job offers at the end of that, whether they keep them or not, or they want to move somewhere further afield, that's fine. And we also have a senior capstone class. My favorite thing about the health policy and management major is that we have students that are interested in engaging with healthcare and in solving the problems with healthcare from across a number of disciplinary and other perspectives. So we have people who want to be, after college, who want to be doctors and nurses and pharmaceutical executives and politicians and lawyers and all kinds of folks. And what they don't know yet as students, what you might not know yet as a student, is that after college, all of those groups are kind of adversaries to one another and are often on opposite sides of the bargaining table. But the health policy management major makes sure that you have spent some time developing a shared vocabulary and approach to problem solving that helps those folks work together. And so that's a little overview, but I'm very happy to answer questions if you're interested in the kinds of jobs students get after college, if you're interested in the kinds of courses we teach, the kinds of graduate programs our students are in. I'm very happy to talk.
That's perfect. Thank you so much for that general overview. I think it could be helpful if you give a little more example about the different type of internships. You touched upon Blue Cross Blue Shield going into more of that medical school direction, but how that could fit specifically for somebody interested in that more medical school side. We do have some students interested in potentially biology. I have a feeling it's really just that pre-med aspect. So how can HPM fit into that type of future thought
So,
process?
so I would say we don't have, we do not have any of the preclinical requirements as part of our curriculum. Those, so your bio and chem and organic chemistry, physics, all that good stuff happens in those departments. What health policy and management does is give kind of the wraparound education that I believe clinicians should have in order to navigate the system that they're going to be working in. We're not designed just for clinicians, but we certainly do have a lot of folks that are interested. And those folks who do that often do placements for their internships. Maybe they're interested in the policy side. So we regularly have folks at the Rhode Island State House. We have a number of nonprofit organizations. And then we also have placements with all of the major hospitals and hospital groups in both Rhode Island and in the Boston area. And regularly those students are interested in doing a more hospital administration focused internship.
Perfect, thank you. I think that really helps kind of navigate, and especially because we did just get a question, if somebody's interested in occupational therapy, being that grad school side, knowing you have to go on, is HPM an appropriate kind of major for that moving forward?
Yeah, we have students that are interested in careers in occupational therapy and physical therapy all the time. And as advisors you'll get an advisor if you come in and you declare HPM, you'll get an advisor. What you want to do is let them know that you have that as an interest. And then the advisor can work with you and make sure that you take the prerequisites that you need for those graduate programs, whether they're inside or usually outside the HPM major. And then what we do is also a number of those programs like occupational therapy and physical therapy, they have requirements for clinic hours that you need to sort of collect before you can apply to graduate school. So it's the required courses plus clinical hours, and we can often arrange for an internship that will count as those clinical hours. So we can find a place for that in the curriculum.
That was perfect, thank you. I by no means want you to speak for your colleagues in the other departments, but can you explain, as you started to a little bit in the beginning, of what it means to fall into that School of Professional Studies, having that hands-on experience that comes with social work, the education programs, and then of course HPM as well?
Yes, absolutely. I'd be happy to. So the School of Professional Studies comprises education and social work and health policy and management. Education is a fully accredited RIDE program. I know there are people available to answer questions about that, but our students graduate with all the relevant certifications and other things that they need to have successful careers as teachers in the public schools, in not just in Rhode Island, but in many other states. And there are programs in secondary education, in special education, and a number of other fields. Those fields have a lot of student teaching associated with them, as well as not just one semester of student teaching, but sort of advancing student teaching, as well as shadowing and things like that. So you're doing the educational work and the academic piece, and you're also doing the sort of on the ground classroom work. In social work, there's a similar approach. So there's a strong academic program. Our social work program, I believe it's the only undergraduate program in the state that allows you to then enter a master's program if you want, and with advanced standing. And so we have a really rigorous academic training in social work. And then we also have both junior and senior year practicums in social work, where you would have a supervised practicum experience working in an agency or in a social work setting in order to develop that kind of expertise. And then health policy and management, we follow that along too. So we have at least one full 120-hour internship that's part of our experience. And then on top of that, a lot of our students choose to do other internships in the summers or even during the school year. And you can get credit for more than one internship. We often run those as independent studies and so forth. And we've recently secured some grant funding to make sure that some of those internships are paid, as well as your transportation to and from those internships are also paid.
I think that's always very helpful, especially in today's day and age, wanting to make sure that you get that paid opportunity as well. We do have another question from the education side of things. Do a large number of your students complete a 5 and 6 master's program for teaching? or do most prefer to do 4 years at PC. So our students are fully accredited in both elementary and special education at the end of their 4 years. We do have a few master's programs for education, literacy, special education, things like that, but you are fully accredited at the end of 4 years. I don't know if you have more to share on that. We do have a student who will be here shortly. We'll give a better insider's tip on what it means to be an elementary ed major, but I hope that helps answer that for right this moment.
I would say also from my experience working with education students, there's a variety of steps they take next. So many go right to work in the classroom. Others go on to master's programs, even PhD programs at other schools. It's a really diverse set of interests. And I think the strength of being in the School of Professional Studies, which is a small school within a smallish college, is that you have a whole team of advisors, faculty mentors, and other folks who can help you figure out what you want to do. So I have a student who is a health policy management major. She thought she was really interested in the business side. Over the last year, due to a cancer diagnosis in her family, she's been involved with the caretaking of that family member and has decided that really she's found her calling and she wants to go to nursing school after graduation. So it's a bit late, actually. So that's wonderful. It's a sad experience. It's wonderful that she's had this epiphany. And it's also a bit late to get in all those pre-nursing requirements. But thanks to careful advising and sort of partnerships across the college, we're able to sort of sort them in. And she's going to take some summer courses and she should be all done by the time she's finished. So there's a lot of opportunities for personal advising and kind of helping. If you have a kind of a unique thing you want to do, we can help you do it.
What a unfortunate but wonderful outcome for that situation. Tough situation for it to have arisen, but I think that really does speak volumes of who Providence is, helping students find their way throughout their 4 years. And as you talk about advising, for our prospective students, a lot of times those transition words from high school to college don't always work perfectly. So when you think about advising, starting to think about the meetings that you have with your school counselors every semester or every year to talk about next year's class schedule, that sort of thing. Do you mind explaining what advising looks like specifically in college? You've talked about it and how those, I know course registration is coming up very soon.
Yeah, so advising's on everyone's mind who's working at the college right now because we're in the middle of doing it. So yeah, advising is something that is done a little bit differently at every college, and it's actually worth asking about as you tour around not just Providence College but other places. I really believe that good advising is at the center of good university instruction and college experiences. And so at PC, we have a pretty hands-on advising system where students basically have a team of advisors available to them. If you enter declared as a health policy and management major, for example, you'll be assigned an academic advisor at the outset who helps you plan your courses for every single semester that you're going to be at Providence College. And so if you're thinking about going abroad, if you're thinking about graduate school, if you're thinking about double majors, that academic advisor, who's a faculty member in the department, is an expert in helping students figure out how to make all those plans work. And they will help you slot in every class you need and so forth. Likewise, if you're having a problem, let's say you fall behind in a class and you need help, or you are not sure how to, you want to drop a minor and add something else, or I'm just trying to think about the emails I have to answer. If you run into those problems, your advisor can be a really great resource at Providence College to sort of help you solve those problems. If you enter undeclared, if you're not quite sure what you want to major in yet, then I think the advising experience is even better because you have a team of advisors in the beginning when you're undeclared who will gather you together to kind of talk about what Providence College is, what the experience is like, how to think about what to major in. And then as you choose that major, you'll transition out of the undeclared program and into your particular major program. And that each time, we focus on helping you build your courses every semester to make sure you're getting all those requirements in for whatever your plan is. And then also, as faculty advisors, we can sort of be resources in terms of internships, jobs, graduate opportunities, networking opportunities with alums and others, and all kinds of good stuff.
Yeah, and I don't mean to relive my glory days, but I think in this particular situation, it can be helpful. I did come in as that undeclared student to Providence and really appreciated the undeclared advising, who was my particular advisor, but then the entire program, as we really started to work together, okay, I had an idea of what I wanted my end goal to be, but didn't know how to get there. I knew the field of education was interesting to me. So do I want to be a teacher? Do I not? So for any of our elementary ed students here, I did take that kind of intro level education course on campus, the common disorders class. And with that had observation opportunities in a local elementary school, from a mainstream elementary school. And then we also went to a school for the deaf and blind that's right near Providence College. And to be able to see what it could mean to be a teacher in that field. From the observation basis, nothing was required of me, but to still kind of get that in classroom exposure and to know that with the education program itself, that level of involvement does become more intense each year. And from that observation basis, realized, okay, I don't belong at the front of a classroom, but still belong in the field of education. So what are my other opportunities then? And then to know that those students end up being that full-time teacher their senior year, I think is always a really cool thing that comes out in the end. So as we start to think about kind of those next steps for our prospective students, whether they've applied to PC as an HPM major, or if they're still considering us moving forward, what types of advice do you give to students who are still trying to understand the department, or for students like me going through that process of, I have an idea of what I want to end up with, how do I find myself there? How do you support students from that perspective?
Well, I would say the first thing is during this application process or at any point, you should absolutely feel free to reach out to faculty. I'm the chair of Health Policy Management. I just dropped my email directly in the chat so you can link it anytime. I'm very happy to have a phone call or a Zoom or any of those things and help you figure out if Health Policy Management is right for you. I think sometimes there's a lot of pressure to declare early, and I understand where that comes from. But another great thing to do is just take some intro courses in that first year of college. HPM 101, Intro to the US Healthcare System, it counts as an elective or two for some other things. And it also can give you an introduction to the major and see if you might be interested in continuing. And I would say the same is true of a lot of introductory courses. And many of our majors don't even find us until the fall of their sophomore year. And that is okay. It's okay to start as an incoming freshman. It's okay to start later on too. And so I think that would be one important thing, is just please don't hesitate to ask, especially this fall, because I'm not like hanging out and I'm on campus and teaching classes, but I'm not really hanging out in my small office, which I can't even have a guest inside. And so there's not really as much of like dropping by and knocking on the door as I'm used to. But I'm very happy to kind of replicate that as best we can. And maybe that means you don't have to make the trip. But I'm always happy to talk about internships, jobs, graduate school, what other folks have done who have been in similar situations, perhaps to your own, and also just sort of navigating that college transition. One of the things that I tell all incoming freshmen when I work at orientation events or other things is just really not to hesitate to reach out to your faculty members. Faculty members want to help you. If you're in trouble or if you've fallen behind or anything, if you come to our office hours, if you email, we're all sort of wanting to help. The hard thing is when, and this would be advice I would give whatever college you choose, that you know, sometimes students wait until it's just like too late for us to help very much. So the earlier the better, for all of those things. And that's really just kind of open communications. I think sometimes students are intimidated by going to talk to the professor. It seems like a very serious task. And I think, you know, the more you can shed that and just come see us, and you know, we're here to help.
You just touched upon two things that I think are so perfect to kind of transition to one other final thing I want to talk about, how office hours really do differ from after school help in high school. Again, one of those concepts that doesn't necessarily transition between the two. A lot of times for me in high school, that after school help was because it was failing the class or not getting it. And the difference being in college, those office hours really being that mentorship, yes, homework help too, and talking through paper ideas and things like that, but more of that mentorship kind of idea that you get with your academic advisor that you can create with any of your professors in different classes. But the other thing that you touched upon that I really appreciate you mentioning as well, something that we didn't get to discuss with Dr. Moffitt, how the intro-level HPM course counts towards a core curriculum class too. So you kind of get to double dip in certain ways with that, and really kind of cross over in certain things. It's how you're able to explore different programs as well. Is something a minor that you may want to add, or just a course you want to try out?
I mean, for example, that communications course that you took counts as a
Yes.
diversity
Yep.
requirement. And so I often encourage students to take that class to both get exposure to education and to complete that requirement in the core. In terms of the office hours, I've taken to calling them, I don't know if I did this time, I'm trying to break myself into it, but I've taken to calling them student open office hours, because that's really much more what they are. It's not that you've been punished. It's not that you're in so much trouble you show up at the professor's door. I love it when students come to introduce themselves. I've had students come with research ideas that have turned into publications and articles or presentations and conferences. I've had students come with, you know, all range of things. You know, exactly, it's a space for absolutely. Also, if you don't like how you do on the midterm and you want someone to explain all the way through, go for that too. But there are lots of other ways that you can take advantage of the faculty-staff ratio, the faculty-student ratio here at Providence College, and have a good relationship with your faculty. I'll just share that for my own education, I was at 2 research institutions. I was at Washington University in St. Louis, and then I did my PhD at Harvard. And I was, one of the things that really frustrated me over the course of my education was the connection between faculty and undergraduates at those institutions. And so when it came time for me to choose a position, I am someone who wanted to be involved with my students and wanted to do teaching. And I chose a liberal arts college with a teaching focus specifically because I didn't want a bunch of grad students kind of running interference between me and the undergrads, which is how I felt it was often how I felt it often kind of played out at the more research-oriented institutions. I wanted somewhere focused on undergraduate teaching, and Providence College has really been a good home for me.
And I didn't even have to bribe you to say that with the coffee. Thank you for it.
You couldn't, if you tried, we're too far away.
I know, I'll have to send one to your office for those student open office hours. But I do want to thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. As we start to transition into that next piece of our presentation today, thank you so much. I will send any questions that come along later to you if there are any. But Dr. Mulderry, I will promote you to a panelist now and to move on to learning. Thank you so much. Start to hear more about those extra opportunities available to Providence College students through the Center for Engaged Learning.
Hi.
Hello. I know you may have been looking for Matt Morano, but we
oh, that's okay. My
swapped presentations.
My computer's telling me I can't start my video because it's blocked by the host.
Let me fix that for you.
That's okay. Oh, it worked. Very good. Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Mulderry, and I've been at Providence College for 12 years, and I've worn and am wearing many hats. I'm a professor in the history program who teaches at least as often in the Development of Western Civilization program as a historian. But I came to Providence College because I so much wanted to do interdisciplinary teaching, and the Civ program allows me to be teaching history with literature, with philosophy, and with all the social sciences and theology. But in the last 4 years, I've also been working a tremendous amount with an entity at PC called the Center for Engaged Learning. And this center doesn't have its own faculty. It involves professors from a number of disciplines, but what we do, and we're a small entity, is we provide extra support and stimulation and initiatives to students in all majors. And I'm going to bring up a PowerPoint just to keep myself organized and brief. And I'm hoping this all comes up nicely. Sometimes when I hit slideshow from current slide, the screen goes blank. Can you guys see engaged learning at Oh, very good. Okay, glad it didn't go blank. So I'm going to talk to you about the 4 initiatives that we revolve most of our activities around. And the first one involves first-year students. So those of you who are thinking of coming to Providence College, you would have an opportunity to participate in a 1-credit course. That means a course that only meets 50 minutes a week and has about 1/3 the amount of work of most classes. But the class is specifically geared towards helping you get used to college and learn the landscape of opportunities at Providence College, and have a group of allies, a community of other freshmen in a small group who you get to talk to each week and provide support for each other. So the class is called Intro to PC. And if you look on the left of the slide, it says a course for first semester students that builds key skills for academic success and connects students to the campus community. So we'll do 1 week on writing tips right when you're digging in and writing your first papers. We'll also have someone come from the Career Center and tell you how to work closely with that center to choose internships for the summer, to find jobs, and to start to discern what major you want to take. And we also have some creative activities as well. It's a really diverse semester. A second initiative that we help coordinate at the Center for Engaged Learning is providing experiences in and out of the classroom. So what we do is we work with all the departments and all the students in all the departments to gradually organize themselves forward by taking a pause and reflecting at least once a semester on what in your classes and what in your extracurriculars is inspiring you, and how that might frame the choices you make for the next term. So it really is just taking a pause and engaging in some writing exercises, sometimes multimedia exercises, to get clearer on what's really giving you life. Okay, it's really that simple, and yet at the same time profound. Third initiative, and you can tell I'm not going to be talking long about each one. The third initiative is the one I head up. And what this is as you get to the point where you choose a major, and you choose a major by around the middle of your second year, you're focusing. And there are new opportunities once you focus. And those opportunities are nationally competitive fellowships, which are grants that would fund you during the summer. And then as you get, and that would give you new opportunities off campus during the summer, and you wouldn't have to pay for them. And then there are even more opportunities for right after you graduate. So I work one-on-one with students applying for these nationally competitive fellowships and scholarships. And they involve summers, and others involve post-graduation opportunities. What's been really nice for all of us, especially the students who got them, is that quite a number of PC students over the last 5 years have been given 1-year grants for basically a middle-class income to spend about 10 months in another nation that they chose, the student chose, either doing research or 20 hours a week teaching English. And you don't have to be an English major, and being a cultural ambassador for the United States. These are a few of our recent recipients of Fulbright Awards. The gentleman on the left will be going to the Czech Republic. Unfortunately, because of COVID, he won't be going until halfway through the year. And Jack Murphy in the middle, Paraguay, and Nicole Gottlieb was granted a Fulbright to Indonesia, but she got another opportunity at the same time to go teach in Uganda, and she decided on Uganda. So that, and she's already there.
Dr. Mulderry, I don't mean to interrupt you. It seems the slides have frozen, so we're still looking at the a few past ones.
Oh no. Yeah, I don't know what does that. And you know what I could do? Let me stop share. So sorry, guys.
No, that's okay. I'm so proud of all of our students that have received Fulbrights in the past few years, especially this year. So I want to make sure that we can follow along with you. There we go. Perfect.
Can you see it? Oh, thanks for telling me. Yeah, so we have Dylan Black is on the left. He's the one who got the Fulbright in the Czech Republic, where he'll be teaching English. Jack Murphy, Paraguay. Nicole Gottlieb got one in Indonesia, but ended up taking a 2-year offer from a different grant source to go to Africa, and she'll be a high school teacher there. We also learned just a few months ago that Jackie Kelly was an alternate for a full scholarship to a program, a master's in disability studies in England. And they actually have put a pause on that program, so she'll be going next year. You can't see, it depends on where your Zoom screen is, but Humanity in Action is something you become eligible for when you're a sophomore, and it's for students in many different majors. But what it is, it's an intensive summer institute where you and students from other democracies from 9 nations around the world form small groups in world cities, in Berlin, in Amsterdam, in Warsaw, Poland, in Atlanta, Georgia. And you do just an intensive set of readings together, field tours together, and conversations together. Students from 9 democracies talking about the challenges faced by the democracies in the 21st century. So you come out of it on your way to being a human rights expert and dialoguer. And then they give you opportunities after that that I don't have time to go into right now. But being a Humanity in Action Fellow is terrific. And Sean Gray was in the Berlin group this past summer. These are past Fulbright winners from 2 years ago, Malaysia, Spain. They all graduated. He was a history major, another's global studies major, another's an English major, on and on. We also recently learned that Emma McLaughlin, who is a physicist, was given a Goldwater Award, which is a big scholarship that helped cover her undergraduate expenses. And I worked with all these students one-on-one on these applications. Last, for students in all majors, we give opportunities as you move along through your studies to start doing original research. And every year in April, we have a big celebration of student original research where the students from many departments give presentations all over campus, in the library, over in Slavin. This past April, we did it online. This coming year, we'll probably be doing it online, but then hopefully back to in person. So it's called the Celebration of Student Scholarship and Creativity. And it's a chance, it's almost like it's like a shopping bazaar of ideas. You can walk around listening to people give their 15-minute presentations on their research with posters as illustrations. And it gives you a great appreciation for the dynamic ideas being passed around on campus and then off campus to the world. I'm going to stop there. And any questions?
students, feel free to send them through the Q&A. I always think it's fascinating to hear what our students have been able to accomplish even during their time, but then importantly after as well. For any parents in the back, that return on investment definitely comes through. But do you mind sharing just a little bit about how this type of opportunity through the Center for Engaged Learning differs from maybe an internship that's part of a student's curriculum?
How you mean like participating in the celebration would be different? So, well, an internship would be longer term, okay, in your discipline. And an internship can function in a number of different ways. It's like an independent study. So you get just as many credits for the internship as you would for a course of readings that you put together with a professor. And what you'll do at the beginning of the internship is write out a plan. Let's say you've decided to go work in a state assembly person's office at the Capitol or the State House in Rhode Island, and you're going to be working there, not for money, but for experience. You'll get a full course's credit for that, and you'll work out with a professor on campus a plan for how you're going to reflect on it and either write something at the end or maybe produce a diary at the end or a multimedia presentation at the end. So that's a full semester's work. Now, your professor might say, hey, this is going to be pretty darn exciting. Why don't you also give your presentation at the celebration in April, or at least as much as you have of it done. So it can be something you did for an internship for credit or for a regular course for credit, but you also do this presentation so people all over campus can hear your ideas. Because having other people hear your ideas is not only an opportunity for you to pull them together in language that many people can understand, which is a very good thing to do because then you'll know it better yourself, but it's also a way to quote unquote network, because you'd be surprised at how many people from other disciplines hear something you said and say, hey, have you heard about this summer job that was listed over here? You know, it's just the more you put out there what's making you feel inspired, the more opportunities connected to your inspiration come your way. That's just how it goes.
That was perfect. Thank you for that explanation. I don't see any questions coming through, so I want to thank you for your time with us this afternoon. I'm sure you gave the students a lot to think about as they continue with the college process, and really just seeing that academics beyond the classroom aspect of Providence College.
Thank you for facilitating. It's great.
Of course.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
We
Bye.
will have the students come on for our final component now of that student panel, giving you more of that current student experience. Like I said, I can relive my glory days, but I don't think anybody really wants that to happen. So let me make all of our students co-hosts so that they can share their screens and everything. Hello, Cass. Hi, Kate. Hi, Madison. I will let you three kind of take it over. Introduce yourselves. What are you involved with? Where are you from? What's your class year? What's your major? Our prospective students had the chance to hear about our Development of Western Civ class. They've heard a little bit more in depth about each major, specifically HPM. So our education students touching upon that a little bit more now too. And really just what it means to be a PC student from your perspective. I will let you run the show now, but be here to help with questions. Cass, if you want to start.
Okay. Hi, my name is Cassidy Duremio, and I am a senior here at PC. I'm from Marshfield, Massachusetts. I'm a health policy and management major with a business and innovation minor. And here on campus, I'm involved in a couple different admission groups. I am one of the captains of our women's club lacrosse team, and I am doing research right now with one of my professors.
I can jump on. So hi, everyone. I am Madison Palmer. So I am a senior at PC. I am a health policy and management major with double minors in business and innovation and political science. I am from Sutton, Massachusetts. And I am also the president of the debate society here at PC. Obviously involved in admissions. And I'm also in the honors program as well.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kate Zenobio. I'm a junior from Long Island, New York. I'm a math secondary education major with a Spanish minor. And at Providence College, I am the class of 2022 treasurer. I'm obviously involved in admissions, pretty involved in campus ministry as well, and also like the education club due to my major. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you all so much. Kate, I'm going to put you on the spot to start off with and just give us more in-depth information about what it means to be an education major. I know you're secondary ed, but as you can touch upon elementary ed at the same time too. We have a number of students interested in that program and some of the opportunities available for our education students.
That's great. Yeah. So I can touch quickly on like secondary because that's what I'm most comfortable with, and then definitely can hit on elementary special ed too. So in the secondary program, you're actually considered to have a dual major because like I said before, you're going to have a specific content area that you're also going to have to take classes in. So we'd like to say that you're fulfilling the entire math content curriculum for that major, also while fulfilling the secondary education program. So you're going to be doing classes in classroom management and just various teaching practices along with going into the field. So you're going to have various practicums leading up to your senior year, and then you're going to be student teaching. So that's just fully taking on that classroom experience for those students. So that's the secondary. And then for elementary special ed, it is a bit different. That's your one major you're being specialized in. But yeah, I know that for the special education elementary students, they get right into the field right away. Their practicum starts a bit earlier than the secondary kids, just because if we hopped into the field right away, we'd be like 6 months older than some of them. It's a possibility. But yeah, so the elementary do team teachings for their practicum. So usually you have a partner within your grades cohort that is in your class, and you'll have the teacher mentor who's working with you as well. I think that's good.
Perfect, thank you. So the students have the opportunity to hear a little bit more about kind of that fieldwork aspect that really falls into play with what it means to be studying in the professional studies area. Cass, you mentioned you're doing research now, you have an internship. Can you touch upon that a little bit?
So as a senior health policy and management major, you're actually required to take a field experience course. And so with that course, it comes an internship. So you have a seminar once a week, and then you also are working your internship for a few hours every week. Madison and I are both interns at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Rhode Island. And so I'm in field experience right now and have continued my summer internship into using it for field experience credits. And it's really a great opportunity to kind of like touch your toes in the water a little bit before you go out into the real world and you get that like first experience of, is this actually what I want to do? With health policy and management, there are so many different areas that you could go into. So it gives you that opportunity to try something out without a huge commitment. And yes, I'm also currently I'm co-authoring a research study with my professor, Dr. Hackey, and another one of my peers. And we are looking at physician assistant mission statements and doing a qualitative research study of the outcomes that the mission statements produce. So it's been a great experience. Once again, like that small school feel or the small school aspect of Providence College gives you that opportunity to get really close with your professors. And I was lucky enough to be in a situation where I was approached by my professor to do research with him. So definitely gives you that opportunity for your professors to get you get to know you on a personal level, not just as like a student in the classroom.
Absolutely. Madison, I don't know if you have anything to kind of piggyback on that a little bit. God bless trying to work at Blue Cross Blue Shield right now, mid-pandemic. I'm sure it's been a little bit of baptism by fire, but Madison, if you want to jump in.
Yes, it definitely has. So I started working at Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Rhode Island this summer. I actually have not done my field experience yet. I will be doing that in the spring semester. And I actually am going to be doing a different internship just to get more experience. So that's also, you know, an opportunity as well. In the past, I've also had like a few other opportunities. So when I studied abroad, the fall of my junior year, thank goodness it was fall, I must say, I studied abroad in London and I had an internship experience there. That was actually fantastic. And it was really, really interesting to see like the healthcare system come into play in another country and be able to compare that to what I was learning from my classes at PC. And at the end of that experience, I actually went to Jamaica all the way from London and did a service learning experience there. So that was a great opportunity. And I also have had the experience to do research with the Dean of the School of Professional Studies. And that was the summer before my junior year of college. And I studied the relationship of women with breast cancer in their jobs and how they were able to manage their treatment and their care management plans with their careers, and if they were able to do that in any of the assistance that they were able to receive or things that they might have needed.
That's incredible. Very important research to be doing that. I think is so amazing to hear our undergraduate students are taking full advantage of. That sounds like graduate level work to me. So to be doing that as a junior in college, I'm blown away by that aspect of it. As you talked about study abroad, Cassie, I'm sure you want to talk about Ireland too, so go right ahead. My favorite thing about college students, you don't have to ask them if they studied abroad. We just go ahead and tell you.
So yeah, I studied abroad in Dublin, Ireland. And like Madison, I also had an internship experience there. I worked for a government agency and I was working on the National Care Experience Program. So we were sending out surveys to patients who stayed over in emergency departments in all the hospitals in Ireland, and were able to do quality studies based on that and kind of develop quality improvement plans. And in that internship, it was great because my supervisor was able to give me so much freedom and kind of really trusted me. And I think that like kind of shows how the curriculum at PC prepares you as a first semester junior to be kind of taking on large projects in another country. And people really trust like the PC or like the HPM curriculum specifically at PC because we take classes in so many different areas that it really prepares you for the real world. And I felt fully prepared to go into that. Was more of a policy internship, whereas now I'm in more of a like business internship. So I've had experience in like multiple different areas.
Perfect. And I'll share, have you share about your next step idea in just a moment. But prospective students, I know I brought up my college roommate a little bit earlier. She also went through that HPM program, had also studied abroad in Ireland and ended up going back to Ireland for a graduate degree in Masters of Public Health. So there's ways to kind of keep that connection going. She also had an internship while she was there and wanted to be able to return to that type of environment. So I thought it was a really great PC kind of connection. Kate, we have a question about what kind of practicums do secondary education majors participate in? And if you want to touch a little bit upon how that correlates to student teaching, especially in the current environment, all of everything that goes into that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have a practicum experience with every class in the secondary program that you take except for one. So the first class that you take to introduce you to the secondary program is educational psychology. So that's where you're learning how teachers think, how students think, and just like the school atmosphere in general. And then every class up until student teaching, you have a practicum. So last semester I was in principles of secondary education. So that's just basic learning practices. You're trying to just absorb as much information as you can while in the classroom for the first time. This semester I'm taking educational measurement. So it's really focusing on the assessment aspect of the classroom. So in our practicums right now, we're taking rigorous notes on how the students are testing, what type of assessments the teachers are giving. Next semester is all about students with special needs. So the elementary special education, that's really their focus. So every class is going to be brought back to the special education aspect of teaching, but this is our one class to really focus on it. And I know that from my peers who are ahead of me, they say that you look at 504s, IEPs, and really teaching to the modifications, and then it'll lead you into your senior year where you're going to be paired with a teacher who you'll observe her class or his class, see the practices that they have in place, and then you're going to stay with that teacher because you'll have developed relationships with those students and that cooperating advisor, and that'll become your student teaching experience too. And then Liz, did you want me to talk a little bit about like the COVID environment and teaching too? Okay, great. So obviously this is an unprecedented time. We're trying to figure things out. So student teaching and even just the practicum experiences are definitely a little bit different. They're looking similarly to how PC is running their classes. A lot of them are hybrid. So half of the students are in person with the teacher, and then half of the students are at home. So there's always a Zoom or a Google Meet that's being projected onto the board. The teachers are being incredibly flexible as to when the students are getting in because they know sometimes internet issues are like a problem. And then they're really utilizing so many different technologies. So they're using like Google Forms, Google Classroom. A lot of them are using programs like Edpuzzle and Kahoot because those are various ways that the students can stay engaged while at home. So yeah, they're definitely struggling a little bit with the transition, but aren't we all? So
thank you for sharing that. As you just said, technology comes up, and to our prospective students who are with us at the start of this webinar, you are aware that technology is great when it works and very annoying when it doesn't. So as you start to think about kind of reflecting on your past college years, what are some of the most important things to share with our prospective students? Cassidy and Madison, I'm sure you want to talk about SRW a little bit, and what hopefully that weekend still meant to you. But some of your kind of favorite classic, why PC, what helps us stand out from, yes, the classroom side of things, but then just who Providence College is in general.
I can jump on first. So yes, SRW Senior Ring Weekend. There usually is a dance senior year as well when you get your senior class rings, and it's this very special event. It's definitely looking a little differently. I mean, hopefully there'll still be the dance in the whole weekend in the spring semester, but you know, we will have to see. I guess all throughout college though, I mean, PC's like been very, very special. I feel like I made so many like forever friends here. The community is just like amazing. It's easy to get involved in clubs and really form like super, super strong relationships over time. I have really close relationships with a lot of my professors, which is why I've been able to do research and have been introduced to different internships and I've made a lot of connections that way. And they're just fantastic with setting you up with people to talk to, whether it's school related, career related, internship related, and just really facilitating like that community environment. And the school just really comes together, all of the sports events. I mean, it's so fun going to a D1 school. I know it's a totally different year this year, but I really still am enjoying my senior year nonetheless because of this community that we have, and because of the people that I'm still able to see in all of these just lifelong friendships that I have up until now.
I guess I can go next. The reason I chose PC was because of the community here. And I know if you haven't had a chance to tour, one thing that really got me was that Friars hold doors. And it just really like spoke to, it was like such a like cheesy little saying that they would say, but it really showed like people do hold doors for you. And it's just that little thing, like such a small thing that shows that someone's cares about you that you don't even know. Everyone literally will pass the door. And I looked for a place where people were just friendly to each other. Like even now we're walking around campus with masks on, people still say hi. It's still the same PC that I've been at for, this is my 4th year, but I just really feel like being a small student body, but having that D1 aspect that Madison was saying really gives you just like the most unique community. Because you go to those basketball games or hockey games and you feel like you're at just like a big D1 school, but everyone's like, then the next day you're sitting next to one of the basketball players in a class of 15 students. So it really does just have that like unique community feel with like those two things that play out together. But then, yeah, as SRW, I've got my class ring on. They still were able to give us a mass on Sunday. So me and my friends were still able to go to that and really just like still feel that community feel, trying to get a little bit of SRW.
You'll get it, I promise. It's also one of my favorite traditions on campus. I do want to touch upon one other piece that, as we brought up different study abroad opportunities, our elementary special education students, even though you have those practicums your senior or junior year, which is when our students typically do study abroad, you still have that opportunity as well if you're interested in adding that to your curriculum. Our elementary ed students choose between either Florence, Italy or Belfast, Ireland. So you are technically limited in not being able to choose among the entire world, but I think those are still two incredible options to choose from. And that really does come down to that practicum aspect. So you're actually in the classroom in one of those two countries. So I think that gives you an even cooler opportunity to add to that curriculum. Kate, I don't know if you have any words of wisdom from the educational perspective for our prospective students. Any kind of words of advice as they continue with this college search process?
Yeah, no, I think this is just like overall in general, just like it's so cliche, but trust the process. Everything you're going to be and end up in the place that you're exposed to be. And whether that's PC or not, like we hope it's PC, but you're gonna be in exactly the right place. It might not be the way that you anticipated getting to that place, but I think that we hope that you come to PC because it's just so great. I don't know what to say. Yeah.
Kate's trying to figure out how to stick around for how many more years, which actually, I don't know if you are considering our PACT program, but we do have a Master's of Education program specifically with teaching. If you're interested in it, I don't know if you want to share a little bit about it. I've had a number of friends go through the program that I absolutely love. So.
Yeah, the PAC program is a great program. My aunt, who is an alum here, went through the PAC program, so I'm kind of following in her footsteps. She was a secondary English major, so I'm pretty familiar with the program. It's an opportunity for graduated seniors to stay in Friartown, obviously, and then take classes over the summer. And then they're going into a local Catholic school in the Northeast, and it's their classroom. So they are completely the teacher, really kind of just throwing you into the classroom. It's yours. And then you're coming back for monthly check-ins, I believe, with your cohort. It's a pact of like 10 to 12 students. So you got really close. They're all sharing, you live in community, which is great. So you're sharing that experience with other teachers. And it's a 2-year program. So you come back 2 summers and teach 2 years full term. And then you got your master's at a great rate. Yeah.
Great being a free rate. So
yes.
The background, that is a free master's degree because your service of teaching during the academic year essentially is covering the cost of your tuition throughout the summer. You are still given a monthly stipend, but it is that really great shared experience. And I love the fact that you don't necessarily have to major in education at the undergraduate level to go into that program. The teaching aspect really does get taught during those summers. So I have a number of friends who also went through the program, either just studying English or history or math or whatever it is that they're now teaching, and some who had gone through the more traditional math secondary ed route. So I think it's a really great way to definitely stay in Friartown, but also to really gain that full experience of being that teacher for those 2 years. Cassidy, I don't know if you want to share about next year, the hopeful plans. Madison, I don't know if you have any steps after graduation as well, but always thinking about that return on investment, what comes next sort of idea.
I'm kind of juggling right now between jobs and grad school, trying to see if I could stay in Friartown for one more year maybe in the MBA program. But I would say that, so we have this great resource at Providence College. I don't know if you've talked about this yet, but this website called Handshake. And so Handshake is a platform where employers post jobs specifically for PC students to look at. And there's like a direct message option where recruiters can message you directly. So I've got messages before saying like, hi Cassidy, like we were looking at your profile. Your profile basically has like everything you're involved in, your GPA, your major. And so they'll say, I saw your profile and we think you would be a good fit for our company. Like, please reach out if you're interested. And so that's a really unique platform that we have access to as PC students, where it's so easy to just hop right on there and just type in, like, since I'm from Massachusetts, like I'll type in Boston healthcare internships and it just pulls up, and then you can do like even like a mileage like far from Boston, and it'll just pull up everything in that criteria that you're qualified for. And so it makes it so easy to find internships, and now that I'm looking for jobs, find jobs too. So that's been a great resource.
Yeah, it definitely has. Can't recommend Handshake enough. And just also just generally finding internships in college. And something that's so fantastic about PC is that they're so helpful in assisting you with doing that. And in particular, the Health Policy and Management program really makes you stand out as a candidate for employers. I mean, it's very unique to the school, and it's not a major that you'll find all over the place. And so you can really kind of play that up in interviews and talking to people, and people are really impressed by it, and the knowledge that you are taking away from the major itself. And I mean, that whole process has helped me get my internship that I'm currently in, and it might actually turn into a full-time job. There's talk about that right now. So, I mean, that just goes to show really just how this whole process like is just so important. And I really can't recommend it enough, and recommend PC for how helpful they are in really setting you up for the future. I mean, it's the fall of my senior year and I could be set, hopefully, fingers crossed, pretty soon.
Crossed for sure. Oh goodness, if you need anything, let us know. We're happy to help from our perspective. You've been a wonderful resource for the office moving forward. So as we start to wrap up this afternoon, any final words of wisdom? Trust the process for sure. You will end up where you are supposed to end up. But I don't know if there's any parting things you want to leave our prospective students with before we let them go enjoy the rest of their afternoon.
I would just say my sister's a senior in high school right now, so I'm seeing the process firsthand. Just try to like enjoy it. This is a fun time in your life, as stressful as getting those applications in can be. You're about to take a huge new step and kind of like grow as a person. So just enjoy your time filling out these applications, kind of searching for schools, and the rest of your senior year.
Yeah, I want to reiterate that. Like, relax. It's okay to just enjoy it. It's gonna get done. Stay focused, get it done. But I remember being in that position. I applied to 14 colleges. I felt like I was all over the place. I was like very stressed about it, but it works itself out and it will be okay. I promise you, and you will end up in the right place.
Absolutely. I want to thank all three of you for being with us this afternoon. Go cuddle up with a good book. It's a rainy day here in Providence, but excited to hopefully have some sunshine coming back soon. For our prospective students, we in the office really do thank you for spending your afternoon with us. We are here to help you through this process. There are 17 counselors on the other side of the computer, excited to virtually meet you in any way that we can. We each have our own specific territory across the country and world. So if anybody is from New Haven, Middlesex, Litchfield, or Waterbury counties of Connecticut, Nassau County on Long Island, sorry, Kate, or most of the state of Florida, I am your person, and more than happy to answer any of your questions moving forward. All of you does have a counselor in the office who specifically works with you. So reach out to that person, ask the questions that you still have about what it means to be a Providence College student, anything about the application process. I know that this is an atypical year for everybody, but we are here to support you in any way that we really can. We are your advocates moving forward, so please utilize us. If you need anything, reach out, but I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day and enjoy. Happy Halloween, be safe this weekend, but enjoy a Snickers bar for me. And if you need anything, feel free to email us, okay? Thank you, everyone.